Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr. versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Jr. versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
So, on this fine Wednesday, was it Tuesday there? On this fine Wednesday evening, we are going to discuss the big fight, the big one. And it is big. Arguably one of, I'm not going to say the biggest, because there have been some big fights already this year, some phenomenal cards, absolutely phenomenal. But this is one of the bigger fights, certainly from a commercial standpoint, and that is Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. 30 years of rivalry culminating in this, right? Rivalries between the parents and rivalries between the pair of them. You know, October 2022, we were meant to get this fight. There was a big build-up, everything towards it. It was going to take place in the O2. We all know the reasons why it didn't happen. It's been talked about in 23, it's been talked about in 24, and now in 2025, we are getting this fight. We are not getting it in the O2. It's outgrown that. It's happening in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So they have really gone all out on this, and the promotion for the first fight was the first original date. That was good, and people were very, very interested. Once Chris Eubank Jr. hit Conor Benn with that egg, that was it. This fight was sold. I mean, this fight was just that they haven't done the face-offs and stuff like that for obvious reasons, because Conor Benn was less than pleased with the egg, obviously. But it didn't matter. I mean, that literally sold it. That one moment, it had people talking absolutely everywhere. It had people talking, even people who, you know, wouldn't be bald. Chris Eubank Jr. hit Conor Benn with the egg. Did you see that? It got people talking. It got viewership on the press conferences. And crucially, it's got viewership on this fight. So I think this fight is going to do phenomenally well come this weekend in terms of pay-per-views. We will be doing, and everyone is doing a live watch-along for this on Saturday night. But we will be, if you choose to join me, please, I would appreciate that. Help your boy out. Want to get 25k. So let's talk about this fight. Let's go over both fighters' key strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about the tale of the tape. So, Chris Eubank Jr., 35 years old, 34 wins, 3 losses, 37 career pro fights. He's been stopped once in those 3 defeats. He has 25 stoppage wins. As I said, 35 years old with a 72-inch reach. So he is the older man. Conor Benn, 23 fights, 23 wins, 14 knockouts in those 23 fights. Originally from Ilford in Essex. That's technically London, but I'm just gonna, it says Essex here. He's listed as a welterweight. It doesn't even have his age. I think Conor Benn's about 27 years old, but he is 5 foot 8 inches tall, so he is the shorter guy. He's been out of the ring for basically 14 months, nearly 15 months now. So will that inactivity affect him? Therein is the question. Conor Benn in the run to this fight has been looking very big. It looks like he's packed on the muscle, certainly in the upper body. He's been sparring the likes of Bruno Saras. He's been sparring the likes of Denzel Bentley, amongst others, and William Skull. Now, 2 of those guys are super middleweights, and even Denzel Bentley is a very big middleweight. So, if nothing else, he is having absolute quality, the cream of the crop sparring. However, Chris Eubank Jr. is a very unique style, to say the least. Yes, he can box a bit when he wants to, and his jab, certainly against the likes of Liam Williams, when they had their respective fight a couple of years ago, his jab was actually quite on point. And you may remember, it dropped Liam Williams a bunch of times. I would like to point out that Liam Williams would go on to be stopped in 1 round by Hamza Shiraz. I think it was 2 years later. So Liam Williams, how is his punch resistance since after the Demetrius Andrade fight? The jury is out on that one. But he boxed a lot in that fight and he did look good. Chris Eubank Jr. has always maintained that he has a very, very good chin, that, you know, George Groves couldn't, or not George Groves. Well, George Groves did hurt Eubank a bunch, but never officially dropped him, although I would like to say Eubank's knee did touch the ground. I think it was in round number 2 of their respective fight all those years ago. Spar Carl Froch couldn't put a dent in him, so he had this perception of having a good chin. When he fought Liam Smith the first time, he was stopped in 4 or 5 rounds that night. He was badly hurt, and he tried to claim it was an elbow. No, it was an uppercut. He went down, and that was kind of, I don't want to say the myth of his chin was gone that night. I think that Chris Eubank Jr. was still struggling from the original weight cut that he did for the Conor Benn fight, which never happened, because he still made weight. He looked awful on the day he made the weight. He really did. And then he literally has maybe a week to rehydrate, refuel, and he's back in a camp doing it again. I don't think he'd recovered from that first cut, a brutal cut as it was, weight cut. So I would look at that fight as maybe an anomaly. Next time around, he was a lot better. And then he goes and has his fight against Karim Sarametin. He didn't set the world alight on it, but Sarametin's a solid European level middleweight. Middleweight being the word there. Although Sarametin was no great shakes, Eubank was still able to drop and stop him. Now, Conor Benn, a career welterweight, as I said earlier, he looks very bulky, very big, and he's doing some good sparring. But first things first, the sparring is not really going to be like Chris Eubank Jr. and how well is he actually doing in the spars against those guys. It's one thing showing a picture, I'm sparring Denzel Bentley. I could show a picture of myself in sparring gear sparring Denzel Bentley. I would not like to spar him. Might show a picture of me sparring him, but I tell you one thing, he beat the living crap out of me. So you don't know how good he was actually doing in those respective spars. And crucially with Conor Benn, when you look at old footage of him, and I know obviously he was a young man then, he was only a kid, he was only 2021 when he turned pro, so he was going to look scrawny, he was going to take some time to develop into his man strength. I get that, but even then he looked tiny for welterweight. Now officially he says, I'm still a welterweight. Listen mate, you're not a welterweight anymore, you're a 154 pounder really. And when you went up to that respective weight, you were essentially, because your promoter even said it, fighting middleweights. And I mean, you couldn't put a dent in them. I mean, you look at someone like that, Peter Dobson, I think the guy's name was, Peter Dobson. That guy was so slow and easy to hit. It was insane. And Conor Benn, he hit him aplenty, couldn't put a dent in him. That has me thinking he's probably going to struggle to really put a dent in Chris Eubank Jr. in this respective fight. I certainly believe that. I think that Chris Eubank Jr., does he have as good a chin? Is he Triple G level chin? No, I don't think certainly not. But does he have maybe a good to above average chin? Yeah, probably. Do I think Conor Benn hits harder than Liam Smith? Liam Smith has always been a decent puncher, and I would say probably much of a muchness. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't hit as hard as Liam Smith. If that's the case, you would think that Chris Eubank Jr. would be able to actually take that power. And Conor Benn will move his head a lot. Eubank likes to let the uppercut go. And Chris Eubank Jr. is particularly efficient when it comes to fighters who come at him. If you come at him with the high guard, he'll light you up. He'll feast upon you with uppercuts. He'll have a field day with you. Conor Benn is not going to do that, which is interesting because that then makes it a little bit more interesting. And I think it helps Conor Benn a little bit because Eubank has never been one for playing cat and mouse. He doesn't like that game. He is all about, you come at me, I look spectacular, rinse and repeat. That's how he does it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what tactics Conor Benn employs. I think he's going to be coming out head on a pendulum, moving around the ring, using his speed. He will be the faster of the two. Chris Eubank Jr. was the more athletic at one stage. He's 35 years old. How good is that athleticism now at this point? So I think it's going to be an excellent fight. I think Eubank's going to have his moments. I think Conor Benn's going to have his moments, probably early on when he's fresh. As we've seen with Conor Benn, he can start off very fast, very fresh. He lets the big shots go. He lets the heavy artillery go early. And then if he's not really put a major dent in you after 4 or 5 rounds, it's just like that. It's just a one-pace, one-dimensional, one-trick pony. And I think if that happens, it's Chris Eubank Jr. every day. And ultimately, I got to give a pick on this fight, who I think will win. I've been saying this since the get-go. I have chopped and changed a little bit, but over the last couple of months, I've been consistent with this one. I even convinced my good friend Ade on our show last week. Have a look at that. He was adamant Conor Benn was going to win, and I had him saying by the end, he was saying it himself. Nevertheless, he's going with Chris Eubank Jr., as am I, but I was the first one to say it. Thank you, Ade. Don't go stealing my stuff here. I was the first one to say it with him anyway. Just joking, it's all love. I'm going with Chris Eubank Jr. to win this fight on a fairly comfortable points decision. I think he's going to win it something like 8-4, 9-7, or 9-3. I think it's going to be like a 170, 111, 116, 112 scorecard for Chris Eubank Jr. He may be able to, if a stoppage comes, I think again it's most likely to come from Chris Eubank Jr. because I think he does have the power to hurt Conor Benn. At the end of the day, Conor Benn can say this and he can say that, blah, 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 and all these things. That's Cedric Payneau, the French guy he fought years ago. That guy, there are journeymen who you can tell hit hard. Even though they lose more than they win, You can tell with the way they throw their shots, with the way they land. There's power, there's force on them. None of that with Cedric Payne now. And he hurt Conor Benn plenty of times. It wasn't just the 2 knockdowns. If he's hurting you at 147 pounds, really? Yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. can hurt you. So I'm going with Chris Eubank Jr. to win this fight, probably on points, but I wouldn't rule him out hurting and stopping Conor Benn. In terms of the rest of the card, Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna, I think that's going to be a really, really good fight. Vidal Riley, Chev Clark, for me, is the pick of the lot. After the main event, that's the pick of the lot. Chev Clark, Vidal Riley. I think that fight is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I'm probably going to go with Vidal Riley, but I say that with no great degree of certainty. I've never been massively impressed with Vidal Riley, nor have I been massively impressed with Chev Clark. I think that they have weaknesses in some areas, but strengths in the others. And I think it's just a case of smashing those strengths and weaknesses together and seeing what we get. I think we're going to get a phenomenal fight in that one. But that is my prediction for Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. Chris Eubank Jr. win this fight on points. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, people, if you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time, people, I hope you all have a great day. Enjoy this video. Peace.